Hi, my name is Tara Kachaturoff, and I'm the host of Michigan Entrepreneur, where we feature businesses from startup to stellar. Today we have as our special guest, Marc Alexander. Welcome to the program.
Oh, it is an honor and pleasure to be here. I've been excited about this day for weeks now, so thank you for having me here.
Me too. And we've had you on the show before. We've talked about various of your companies, because
Yes.
you've got two right now, and I know another one in the works since our
Yes.
last conversation. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then each of the companies, and then we're going to do something special today.
Absolutely. So my name is Marc Alexander, co-founder and CEO of Lite, which is our most recent company, where we provide fundraising software solutions while helping nonprofits stay compliant so they can focus on the mission, which is important. And our first company, which is my baby, Lite Tuition. That journey started from an anonymous $16,000 check I received in college with the request to pay it forward. So now we help students all around the world raise money for their education that's sent directly to their school without the burden of debt. So we want to make sure we can not only serve and help people here, but around the world get the education they need.
All right, so Lite and Lite Tuition are your
Yes,
companies, and there's more in the works from you.
Oh, yeah.
And today we're going to do something special with you. This is like the second time I've ever done this in like 19 years, and it's called 20 Questions with Marc Alexander.
I love
Might
it.
be more than 20 though.
I love
and
it.
in this, I'm going to be asking you questions about entrepreneurship, starting businesses, wrapping up businesses, and everything in between. So the first question I have for you today is, what should entrepreneurs focus on in their first year of business? If you could just pick one thing, what would it be?
I would say focus on having a system and solid routines in place. So with me, Sunday to Friday are my work days, and this is the system I have. On Sunday, I'm looking at my schedule for the week, so I work a minimum of 4 hours. Schedule anything I may have missed to make sure I'm set for Monday. Now, Monday and Thursday are my operation days. So every Monday I meet my CFO, so we go over the finances. Every Thursday we're doing reconciliation, make sure we're good. Tuesdays and Fridays are my tech days, so I meet with the tech team. And then, of course, Tuesday and Wednesdays are also marketing days. And I learned the system while being an entrepreneur at my previous job before doing entrepreneurship full time. So having a system, having routines, and sticking to them. Because it gets some days where you might not want to balance the books because the books don't look so good, but you keep those tasks in place. If you can do them during the difficult times, you can do them through the great times. So system, in another system.
For good measure. All right, excellent, love that. Here's one, this is about mindset. What mindset shift is really important when you go from being an employee to an entrepreneur? Because we know a lot of people are doing that. They've done it before now, but now some people are being forced into it with all the layoffs.
Yes.
What is the mindset shift that's the most important one?
So I would say, I'm gonna give two examples. First, if you're volunteering and going into entrepreneurship, realize what you may be working and doing is a lot different than running the business. So they say, for instance, I love motivational speaking. Being a motivational speaker is different than running a motivational speaking company. I have to learn to manage people, build the culture, so it's a lot more to it. So before you take that leap of faith, make sure you get a full understanding of what that transition looks like going from employee to employer, because there's a lot more components that goes into it. And if you've been forced into that change, embrace it. The journey is going to be unique. You're going to learn a lot, but understand that you're not failing, you're constantly learning, and give yourself some grace. I thank my wife, she's been absolutely amazing. She reminds me, hey, look how far you've come. It is a journey, it takes progress, but we're always looking at the goalposts and not how far down the field we've come. So that's something very important. If you're going to make that transition from employee to employer, keep in mind the things you may do are a lot different because you're not working necessarily in the business, but on the business as an employer.
And boy, is it an eye-opener.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, next question. I love this. So what do you think is one of the key factors that separates businesses that grow from businesses that don't? What do you think that precipitating factor is?
I would say self-examination. What happens at time, and we try to avoid this in our business, it's called the echo chamber. You say something in your meeting and everyone says, yeah, it's a good idea, but the customers may not like that good idea. So we remove that barrier and we start to look internally. If we're not growing, what's changing? Then we ask for advice. I give this example. There's a difference between nice people and kind people. Nice people will tell you what you want to hear to feel great, but kind people will tell you what you need to hear to be great. And customers can be very kind people to get advice from, to learn how can we change, how can we pivot, how can we adjust. But you have to be willing to look internally to figure out outwardly how you can change that. And then even from entrepreneurs, sometimes you can be the biggest mountain in your own way by not letting go and delegating to the amazing people that you've been blessed to have. So self-examination is very important on this journey, especially if you're looking to figure out how do I go from being stagnant to scaling up and making some changes.
Love this. I'm so glad we're doing 20 questions with
Yes.
Marc Alexander today. All right. So when it comes to mistakes, and there's so many that entrepreneurs can make, what is one mistake that you've seen over and over and over? And I know you work with people in different capacities, in leadership positions with like incubators and things like that where you're involved. And so you see a lot of entrepreneurs, and you are
Yes.
one yourself twice over and probably thrice over soon. What's the one mistake that you tend to see over and over and over again?
Patience. And the reason I say patience, what happens, especially with the explosion of social media, you will see a 30-second feed or advice about someone saying, this is how you start your business or set it up. And what happens is people take it and they run with it. And you have to do due diligence every single step and process. As entrepreneurs, this isn't just a company, this is my baby. And I have to make sure I know 100% about my baby and in what direction that child's going, because as we continue to scale and grow, I'm going to eventually send Lite Rays off to college to learn more, off to get his master's degrees. But if I'm not willing to do the research and be patient to understand what it takes to get from point 0 to 1, it can hurt. And so many times we are just so excited about the vision we have. We want to see it happen right now, but there's a learning process. You have to build your business acumen to understand this is what it's truly going to take, because it requires a lot. A lot of sacrifice goes into it. So if you run too fast while learning the steps in advance, it can have adverse effects on you at the end of the day. So patience and being willing to actually learn the process before just immediately jumping into the world.
And I think so many people, they don't see the steps in between because they're only seeing, the guy talking about his business after he's just invested 20 years of his life in it.
Absolutely.
And it's like, it's not that easy.
Absolutely.
We all wish it was. Yeah, great advice. Oh my goodness. These need to be your chapters in your book. Seriously. I'll give you the questions after, you can write
Thanks
them up.
so much. Questions in the
Yeah,
video.
right. Okay, yeah. So how should someone decide what to delegate or outsource? And there's like two parts to this. First
Yes.
of all, being able to release the stuff. I mean, you almost have to, for some entrepreneurs, they won't let go of anything, and they're clutching onto everything,
Yes.
and they just won't let go. But you cannot run a business on your own.
I
So
agree.
there's two things going on here. How did people learn how to let go of stuff, or is it just not for those people to be an entrepreneur? And then how do you decide what to delegate or outsource?
Absolutely. So
Two-parter.
the first part is think about all the resources. When we think about business, we're thinking about human capital, capital in itself, all these tools, but the one resource we can never get back is time. And you have to look at when you're going to delegate something, what can you give yourself more time to do to focus on those high impact levels that you need to be as the founder or CEO of the company, where you can delegate then to your team. So you have to sit back and really say, okay, what's high priority? So write down your list, the top 20 things you have to get done that day. And then with that list, because what happens at time, our lists get large. Now condense that list down. What's your high priority? What's your top 5 things you absolutely have to get done? And those can be your focuses. Now, as you look at the rest of the list, okay, these still have to get done, but they're not very high priority. I can then delegate these. Now, here's the big thing we all have to learn to do when we talked about earlier with patience. Take the time to teach and edify. So I had to learn this as well, is if I don't take the time to invest in training and teaching, I can never delegate. And it ends up becoming so intense for me. And we always say, I don't have time to train people. But if you invest that time, make that sacrifice that day and say, hey, let me sit down and show you how to do this, you would be amazed at how much time you get back as that return on your investment for taking an hour, 4 hours, or a day out to show a team member how to do something. So delegation starts with being patient, looking at your top 5 things you have to do, those other tasks that need to get done, and then investing the time into someone you trust to get the job done.
Love that. Love that. Great advice. Great advice. Next one has to do with work-life balance, which is a rough one, right? Said every spouse, and yeah. So What's your take on work-life balance for business owners? What are your thoughts around that? Do you have work-life balance? And
Yes.
have you had it throughout your journey as an entrepreneur?
No. I had to improve upon it. So you have to understand with me, my growth and scalability has come from my faith. So one thing I learned reading the Bible, if God had to rest at least one day, who am I then to think I can outwork him and work 7 days a week? And I realized what happened over these past few years in corporate America, we wore burnout like a badge of honor. And it's not it's not good for you. It's not healthy, and it has so many adverse effects. You might not feel it now, but our bodies will tell us it's tired, even if our mind says we have to keep going. So I've been very disciplined. Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, I do no work. Now, there are moments where I might do volunteer opportunities, get into the community, but I realized giving myself at least one day of genuine rest was so rejuvenating. And what I've done, I know I work 6 days a week, Sunday through Friday, but on Sundays, my wife and I, we just make it a nature day. We go either sit by the pond, do a walk in nature, and it's so refreshing. Our minds are computers. If you don't shut the computer down, let it sleep or rest, it's going to get hot, the fan's going to stop working, and it's going to crash. And I say that because I've been in those moments where my body has just crashed, shut down. But being disciplined about work-life balance has been amazing. Pro tip that I do, I put my phone in my home office. Because what happens is you lay down, you say, let me just check that phone one more time. And the next thing, if you're not doom scrolling on social media, you're looking at emails, your mind never shuts off. So that's something, it's going to be hard because it's still challenging at times for me to do, because if I'm asleep and I think I hear the phone vibrate, my eyes open up like, okay, I got to go check my phone. But gosh. I've learned to get more rest, and I'm more rejuvenated in the morning. So it took some time to get to this point. So I don't want to think it's been like, I've been doing this work-life balance. I had to learn from the setbacks when my body was just so drained. Say, okay, let me give myself some rest. And I got way more done by treating my work-life balance like it's a top priority.
And you don't start resenting your business either,
Yes.
because that can happen too, where you
yes.
start hating it, and then it's like,
I completely agree.
That's not going in the right direction.
I completely agree.
Well said. Here's another one. How can entrepreneurs get better at managing risk? And risk is a big category because when you think about enterprise risk management, there's so many things. But if you could pick like one thing, what could they do to help manage risk in a more effective way?
I would say, of course, and again, this is just how I am with my faith. Where two or three are gathered, there he is in the midst. So two are better than one. You have to be vulnerable enough to share what you don't know. I have two amazing co-founders. I'm going to talk about my CTO because he's dynamic when it comes to technology. I had to learn what I was not good at when it came to tech. And I had to trust him with that technology of it. And it helped take the risk from top level with me being in charge to now it's low and moderate with him being in charge. And you can really mitigate risk by putting the right people around you. And it goes back to what we said earlier. You have to be comfortable enough to delegate. You can literally choke your business. You can become the biggest risk ever for your enterprise by not sitting there assessing. I was like, you know what? I'm not the strongest person with tech. Yaro is. Let me trust him with it. And that risk level dropped. Our security protocols became stellar. The flow process, everything, the back end and front end became so much more easier that I was like, wow. I even have better work-life balance now because these were things he enjoys. So I would say that trust the people around you, know their strengths, because their strength might be in the area where you're weak at. But if you can transfer or delegate that task to them, you now balance out the risk in your business simply by looking at the folks you already have around you.
And that's not actually a place where people would look, and when they think about risk in an organization, they would not. They'd be thinking about other things.
Absolutely.
And that's an interesting take on it. I like that.
Thank
Love
you.
that. All right, next one. What's one smart way to test a new idea before fully launching it?
Ooh, I love this one. So there is something we call CCD, Constant Customer Discovery. And the thing I've learned, instead of investing all this time into building out something and then sending it out there, if you already have clients, ask them for the feedback. Hey, we have this new idea we're going to roll out. What's your thoughts on it? And they will be very kind, as we mentioned, and tell you, I don't like it. But once you have a pool of people, you can get that insight, and then you can say, okay, what can we tweak up better? And think about it. All that took was either a survey, a questionnaire, or just a quick coffee conversation. And then you'll hear this, entrepreneurs. If you haven't, it's called MVP, minimal viable product. So minimal literally means minimal. Don't build out something very large, a quick wireframe, a landing page at times, just to get people's engagement. Hey, would you be willing to sign up on this wait list for this idea to help your business grow? Think about it. For that landing page, you might have paid $19 a month just to keep that landing page there, but you got so much invaluable information to say, is this idea something I can run with and get going? So minimal viable product, the M being important, minimum. Don't build it all out, but talk to the people around you. Your customers will give you the best advice you need on this journey.
Being mean, but being mean while being kind. Being frank.
Yes.
Being frank while being kind.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Excellent. So burnout. B is for burnout. What's one thing you would recommend people do to deal with burnout? Have you ever been burned out?
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Me too.
And I would say give yourself some grace. I know if I don't get something done, it drives me crazy because I feel like it has to be accomplished. But where I realize I am highly productive in the morning. I'm a early riser. I'm up usually every day at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I get so many things done. So we talked about earlier that priority list. If you can do all your top priority things in the morning time, mentally, you give yourself some level of reprieve. Like, okay, I know I still have more to do, but I have those high ticket items done and taken care of. And you have to realize, give yourself a cutoff time every day. Because, again, me being deep rooted in my faith, worry about today's evils, not tomorrow's, because today's will suffice. And what happens with us, we are so conditioned as men to think about 30 days out, 40 days out, 60 days out, even next week, where if we can just focus on tackling things that we have today, count it as a win. And there's been some things, now granted, I still have those challenging days, but that's been just some of those things to get me through the storms. And the storms will pass, those too shall pass, but high productivity for me in the morning time. If you're a night owl, maybe you do all those high tasks at night, but give yourself a cutoff time, because entrepreneurs, you are too important to your family to cause yourself to be gone over a business that might just pop up overnight somewhere else. So you as an individual are invaluable, and we have to remember that. That's why burnout for me has been at the forefront of my mind, because I love my wife, I love my family, I love my amazing niece and my team, and it is my responsibility to be there for them every single day so we can smile and laugh together.
All right. Love it. Love it. This one has to do with sales.
Yes.
What's one sales strategy that you think all entrepreneurs should be using?
Ooh, I would say, I'm going to add two things in. Word of mouth is still very, very important. If you have a customer that loves your product, guess what? Tell your customer to share a testimonial, get a quote, get insight. If you can even record a video, people respond more to faces than do logos. I want to say the percentage is 38% engagement with faces versus logos.
38%?
Yes. And when they see the faces, especially the faces of customers that use your service, it's more likely that more people join on. That's why we highlighted in the past, it's a Grand Life. When other nonprofits heard about nonprofits that were using our software and said they loved it, more nonprofits started to jump on board. So word of mouth is still important. People actually seeing the people behind the scenes or the customers way more value than the logo themselves. And I would say just another thing from a sales standpoint, be comfortable putting yourself out there. A lot of people think I enjoy public speaking. It was terrifying to get going. But I realized so many more people were terrified to do public speaking, to do interviews, podcasts. But that gave me a leg up. If I was willing to put myself out there where they could see the person behind the brand, it helped sell the business even more. They say, you know what? I don't know what they do, but I like that guy that's running the company. And that helped us skyrocket in some of our sales and get some of the new clients we have as well.
Amazing. And that's such an interesting statistic too.
Yes.
Like, wow, I did not know that. Here's one that has to do with the other guys. What's your approach to handling competition? And you know, in a general sense, what should entrepreneurs be considering when they're looking at competition? What can they learn? How do they approach it?
Yes.
Do you get all like burned out, you know, crazy about it? Like, what's an approach with
I
that?
would say the biggest thing, of course, with entrepreneurs, when you're looking at your competitor, because especially when you're starting off and you have, in our instance, other fundraising software has millions of dollars backing them, tons of clients that have been around for decades, don't get overwhelmed with their success. Focus on yours. But see what they've done. They already built a blueprint. We mentioned earlier about being an entrepreneur within a company. Learn the systems they have and then implement your own. Learn what they did right and see how you can apply it. But don't get intimidated by the giant, because David slew Goliath, and David was a tiny person. So even as a startup, you might be small, but you still have the potential to move faster, to make quicker decisions, to engage folks more, where some of these large corporations might have to go through a lot more red tape. So you still have the leg up, learn what they've done, see what you can then replicate, because they invested tons of time and money and resources into strategies, applications. And I'll give you a good example. I learned this from a gentleman who was doing restaurants. He's like, I built my restaurant across the street from that franchise restaurant. I was like, why? They've already done all the research to figure out the traffic flow, the amount of folks, so I don't have to spend the millions of dollars. So leverage from the big guys what they've invested in and apply it to the small guys to make yourself scale.
So you too can be a small and mighty hero.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that's great. That's great. Here's one, pivoting. Because everybody's like, okay, that didn't work. Let's try plan B. But what would you tell an entrepreneur about when's the time to pivot? Because nobody knows really when the dip is going to, right? Mm-hmm. Going down and going down. When's the dip going to stop? You know, you don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely. When you have, now here's the thing. I'm going to say it kind of vaguely. When you have tried absolutely everything to get ahead, that's when it's time to pivot. Now, with that said, you have to have barriers and safeguards in place. So don't wait until you're $1 million in debt or you've lost all your resources and team. Have mentally in your mind, okay, if we can't get to point C by this time frame, we need to start exploring other options. Because what happens at time, and I've seen this so many times because I've been there, where you will wait till you get down to the very last cent and then say, okay, it's time to pivot. Give yourself some cushion. So let's say if you have a 18-month runway and you're saying in your mind, okay, if we don't hit this milestone by month 8, that gives you 10 more months to think through strategically. Because what happens is when you're at month 19th and you say we should have pivoted back then, you're now scrambling. And what happens mentally, you're not seeing all your options as clear as possible. So you might see a pathway that looks good because it's a quick fix, but it's going to have adverse effects. So give yourself safeguards in a timeline. So if you say, you know what, I have 12 months to make this business successful. If I'm not successful by month 6, I'm going to make sure I have at least 2 months to explore other options, and I have 4 months on runway. So if you do need to go back to plan B, you at least have a cushion where you have some mental relaxation in doing so. But it's going to be a very important thing that all entrepreneurs do, because pivot is a word you keep in your back pocket all the time. Whether it's product, businesses, people, teams, pivot, you will be doing a lot.
And at that time, it's like, and you're going through all of this, that's a time when burnout can start, like, you know, and it's like everything's on fire.
Yes.
You know, like,
yes,
it's like one thing after another, and it just starts happening. And people don't always take into consideration so many things can also go wrong at these times, like your health, somebody passes away. I mean, there's so many layers. We think about, a lot of people just think about their business like, oh, this is my universe. It ain't the universe. The business is about that big, and then there's the rest of your life.
I completely agree.
You know, and if you're the leader and you haven't like let go of things, and there's nobody to delegate, and you may need time off, I mean, it's like you're in a world of hurt.
I agree.
So all these things kind of come into play, especially as you're building the company. Now, if you're a single person company, it's a lot harder.
Yep.
But yeah, all right, great stuff. Next question is, what should people know about hiring their first team member? I'm going to take a step back though and do a question before that. The one being, when do you know it's time to hire somebody? When you're like already at burnout and they're running the pivot. It's like, when do you hire that first person? Because that's really the question before the question.
So I would say first there are a lot of tools and resources that you can tap into that's available. So I know when we got to the point, we hired our first intern, and that gave us the insight, because when you hire that person, you have to keep in mind taxes, compliance, there's so much that goes into it, and it can be very scary. So do a small test to see how it works. When we did our internship, we partnered with some initiative they had where we can get funding to bring on the intern. We can get, through the state of Michigan, they had a one-on-one match where they help you with the payroll. So you can get a good idea if this person is a good fit. Because what ties into it, you want to hire slow, fire fast. And not necessarily fire, but we do the hire slow because if someone isn't a good fit, you don't want to bring them on prematurely and then have to turn around and let them go, because that can be very challenging and devastating just in a sense. And then even when you're assessing talent, you want to make sure that this talent can go with you the full way. So leverage resources, explore internships, those small bottom line costs to you to see, okay, what does it take? Because once you hire a person, it's your responsibility to make sure you can continue to take care of the people. And it's a lot. Being an entrepreneur and hiring people requires a lot more time, which is why we talked about early on. It's a difference from going from employee to employer, because there's so many systems, protocols, and procedures you have to have in place. So test it out first. Do an intern that's low level. Even if you have some non-paid internships, see what it's like to have someone you delegating projects to. Get that full understanding of what it's like before you put the actual capital behind the person.
And the thing is like you're learning at that point in time.
Yes.
If you've never hired anybody or ever managed people, it's like it's an awakening
Yes.
of learning a new skill. There's a different level of responsibility. It's like you don't want to crush somebody's dreams, their
Absolutely.
career dreams by, something going wrong and then you fire them immediately. I mean, this can be very, if you have feelings about people,
Absolutely.
there's a lot to that whole thing. And well said. So now we're going to, the second part of this is like, what should you know before you start hiring people? What do you need to like have in place, whether it's mindset or something, more tactical?
Definitely, and we talked about this earlier, have a system in place. So even what we have now is the system we have in place, and thank you again to my amazing team that allows me to be exposed to these things. We have a training module so team members can learn things behind the scenes. We have internal database set up where if they need to have access to resources, scripts, anything, it's all set up in place so that way they can come in and hit the ground running. We have an onboarding process, so new hire orientation, employee handbook. So it's so many things that I had to watch working in corporate America. How do we onboard people here? So watching them, being that entrepreneur within corporate America before becoming an entrepreneur, helped me see all the systems, protocols, and procedures I needed, because when someone's coming to work for you, even as a small startup, they're expecting you to have everything in place. And if you're winging it, they're going to know it. So check your systems. If you have friends that have people, ask them, how did you hire your first person? You'll be amazed at the horror stories they might share with you, but know the process. Don't be afraid to try it out, but have a system in place for it.
Well said. That's a really important point. So we've come to the end of our time with our 20 questions. We will definitely continue these in the future. My last question to you is real quick, 30 seconds. What's your advice to entrepreneurs? And you've given so much, but if you only had 30 seconds, what would it be?
I would definitely tell you, darkness comes before the dawn. So even as entrepreneurs, the most important thing next to performance is perception. We have to show up on stage and be well polished, but just don't give up, my friends. I know because I've been there plenty of times. The journey can get challenging, but it's that level of discipline. Because even with my family, once it comes time for my niece to start her own business, my goal isn't to pass on the business or wealth, it's to pass on the wealth of knowledge. To make sure my family and the generations to come are prepared for the world ahead. Because it can get scary out there. But if you have something that's bigger than you, that's pushing you to go forward, you can keep doing it. So my friends, don't give up, keep going, and know we are in this battle together.
All right. Well said, Marc Alexander. Thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
If you'd like more information about our program, please visit us at www.michiganentrepreneurtv.com. Please join me again in the future when I interview another enterprising entrepreneur. Until then, wishing you the best of business.